Am I dead? Trin Shaw stood there stunned, the scene from a second ago still vivid in his eyes. The monster, existing only in nightmares, had lunged at him, its claws almost touching his face, moments away from ripping him into tiny pieces. So am I really dead? Trin Shaw looked around in surprise. He was standing in an enormous square, empty and vast. In the center of the square was a brightly shining, huge sphere, warming the entire area like a sun. Around the square was darkness, a gloomy kind of darkness devoid of any light, making him dizzy just by looking at it for a while. Alive! Damn it! That was a close call. But we made it. We survived. Truong Kiet's voice boomed out loud. Trin Shaw turned to see that besides him on the square were Truong Kiet, Cham Lamb, and Lee Teo Ungi. 4 people. No, not just 4. There was also a girl crying and running out from a room next to the square, heading towards Truong Kiet. For the first time, the man showed a gentle, loving gaze, ran up to her, and kissed her hard before everyone. If there's anything unclear, ask the Master God. You just need to think it. Don't rush into anything like creating a woman for yourself. Wait until tomorrow to talk about it, choose a room, and imagine however you want. Truong Kiet carried the girl and didn't look back, dropping a few words before disappearing into the room, leaving Trin Shaw and the others with their eyes wide open, eventually collapsing to the ground. This hand is really something. To still be able to run and be in the mood for love. Cham Lamb lay on the ground, his voice soft and limp. I was so scared earlier, and now my limbs are still weak. I can't believe he acted as if nothing happened. The girl spoke for a while, and when no one responded, she looked back only to see 2 men under the bright sphere, looking at their pants, which were hoisted up, clearly imagining the woman they wanted. Idiots! Men are fools, lucky to have survived and immediately thinking about lust. All men are fools. Cham Lamb, angry, stormed towards a room door, yanked it open, and slammed it shut with a bang. The sound made the 2 men open their eyes and look at each other, sheepishly smiling before continuing their endeavor to create a lover. It was a magical feeling. Trin Shaw felt himself melting into the stream of light, and before him appeared a 3-dimensional computer control screen, listing 4 types of products including science, magic, enhancement, and entertainment. 6 attributes of the body included intelligence, spiritual power, cell vitality, immune strength, neural reflexes, muscle strength, and finally bonus points and drama details. Trin Shaw saw his own attributes. Intelligence 107, spiritual power 122, cell vitality 97, neural reflexes 131, immune strength 103, muscle strength 112. It seems that besides regular training that made his body strong, his attributes were not much higher than ordinary people, except for spiritual power and neural reflexes, which were significantly higher because the Master God awarded 20-30 points. His bonus points were 6502, where 1,000 were basic points, 5,000 for saving Matt, 500 from a breakthrough, and 2, probably from killing dozens of zombies. Create a girl. Create a girl. Trin Shaw didn't plan to use his bonus points for purchasing or enhancing yet. After a life-and-death experience, he had learned to be cautious. It's best to wait until tomorrow to consult Truong Kiet before enhancing. At this moment, his mind was filled with the thought, could he create Laay? The Master God's light seemed to understand what Trin Shaw was thinking and immediately opened the 4th category, stopping at the creation of a person. A solemn, even voice resounded. The first creation of a human form is free. Thereafter, each will cost 500 points. Please specify the type of creature, gender, height, appearance, race, age, skin color. Trin Shaw gradually sank into memories, back to when he was a naive teenager, a bit of romantic feeling, a bit of vague sensation. What he remembered most was her hair's fragrance, her smile, her words, memories of her. It turns out that it's because he no longer had her, he lived a life of suffering, degenerating gradually. It turns out his life went into darkness because he no longer had her small hands. As long as I have you by my side, my heart will never be lost. A tear fell from Trin Shaw's eyes, touched the ground, shattered, and disappeared. When he opened his eyes, in front of him was a girl smiling coy. "It's really great. It turns out it was all just a dream. I don't want such a future, I don't want it." Just then, there was a knock on the door. Laay immediately hid under the blanket in embarrassment and said, "Uncle and Aunt are back. Oh, you wicked man. How can I go out to meet everyone? My clothes are all torn." Trin Shaw felt cold inside because he heard someone calling. It was Truong Kiet's voice, so it wasn't a dream after all, and Laay was just a life created by him. Fortunately, Laay was hiding under the blanket, just grumbling a few times and then lying still, not seeing the expression on his face. Trin Shaw sighed quietly, got dressed, and went out to the living room. Indeed, everything was arranged just like his house when he was a teenager. Trin Shaw opened the door, and outside were indeed Truong Kiet and two others. He looked further. Behind Truong Kiet was the square, with the brightly shining Master God sphere at its center. "Wait for me a moment." He hurriedly spoke to the three of them and ran under the Master God. "Master God, please tell me. She's not a creature created by you, right? Why does she have Lay's memories? Why doesn't she know anything about this place? What's going on here?" Trin Shaw closed his eyes, pouring out his doubts to the Master God, and after a while, he received a reply in a steady, solemn voice. "She is created by you. Her memories, personality, appearance, body, and face all come from your memories of her. She is the person in your memories." Trin Shaw sank into thought, then said, "I don't understand. I don't care if she is the person in the memories or not. I just want to know if she is a real human being. Are her words, her actions, her tears real, or just a sequence programmed by a computer?" The Master God replied, "Yes. The life created is complete, unless the creator dies or the life is killed. Otherwise, she is a real human being entirely." Trin Shaw somewhat understood what was happening. The Master God had restored Laay from his memories, so she is also Laay, although just a restoration. The real Laay had died at 16, but this Laay was restored to the time when she was nearly 16, the most beautiful time in his memories. "Master God, one last question. Is it true that if I earn 50,000 points, she can return to reality with me? Those who choose to return to the starting point may bring the following: 1. All purchased items. 2. All enhanced attributes. 3. Created lives. 4. Summoned lives. 5. Enhanced mutant bloodlines. Once purchased, these 5 items will permanently belong to the buyer, even when returning to the starting point." Trin Shaw slowly felt reassured. He had lost her once, when he could only watch helplessly as she passed away. But not this time. He had the power to change everything. As long as he could survive the horror films, earn enough points, he could bring her back to reality, to have her forever. Truong Kiet and the others still stood at the door, looking at him without understanding. Trin Shaw apologized with a smile and led everyone into the room. According to Truong Kiet, as long as he allowed, everyone could enter. Otherwise, they couldn't. Bringing everyone into the living room, he said, "Wait a moment. I'll be right back." He then went into the bedroom, not forgetting to close the door behind him. Laay peeked out from under the blanket and asked, "What happened? What happened? Uncle and Aunt didn't say anything, did they?" Trin Shaw came to the bedside and gently stroked the girl's hair, saying seriously, "Laay, there's something I need to tell you, but you must promise to stay calm, all right?" Lay's eyes, clear as lake water, began to well up, and she lowered her head and said, "You want to break up, don't you? Just like people say, men become heartless once they have a girl's body. I thought you would always be with me, love me. If it's about breaking up, then don't say it anymore. I don't want to hear those words from you." Trin Shaw lifted her up, speaking loudly. "What nonsense are you talking about? It's not like that at all. I still love you even though you've been dead for nearly 10 years. Then he recounted how Laay had died of illness 10 years ago, gradually speaking of the strange events he had to go through, of course omitting the 10 years of depravity, only mentioning the Master God. "Laay, you are Laay. 10 years ago I had to sit still and watch death take you away. Now I can use these hands to protect you, trust me. I will definitely earn enough points to bring you back to reality. Trin Shaw kept talking, but he noticed Laay in his arms was silent. Making him very uneasy, he quickly looked at her and found Laay staring blankly at her hands. He hurriedly took her hand and said, "Laay, what are you doing? Say something. I know finding out about one's own death is very uncomfortable, but don't harm yourself. If there's anything on your mind, talk to me, okay?" Laay suddenly laughed loudly, sitting up straight in his arms, pinching his face and saying, "No wonder I thought you looked so big, and your body has so much hair." A good girl shouldn't say that, but anyway, it's great to live again. Why would I have a hard time accepting that? I thought you were going to break up with me. It really hurt. It hurt a lot. Next time you talk unclearly like that, I will tear your mouth apart to teach you a lesson. Trin Shaw was stunned for a while before he laughed heartily. That was Laay, the resilient yet silly girl he had always loved. After that, everything was easy to resolve, according to Truong Kiet. Everything in the room could be changed just by thinking about it, and since Laay was created by Trin Shaw, she could also change everything in the room. After knowing this, Laay cheered loudly, ran to the closet and started pulling out a pile of clothes and jewelry, then pushed Trin Shaw out of the room and slammed the door shut. In the living room, Truong Kiet and the others all looked long-faced, but Trin Shaw could see the corners of their mouths twitching. He scratched his head and said, "If you want to laugh, just laugh. Don't hold it in like that. Your faces look awful as if you've been punched." Truong Kiet and the others laughed out loud. Only Cham Lamb laughed a bit unnaturally. While laughing, Truong Kiet said, "It's really strange. I didn't expect you to like a girl with such a personality. She seems quite feisty." Trin Shaw, sitting on the sofa, laughed wryly and told everyone about Lay's background, then frowned and smiled. "I didn't expect it to be like this either. I just wanted to create someone who looked and acted like her. I didn't expect it to be an exact restoration." After hearing this, everyone was extremely surprised. Truong Kiet said, "It's unbelievable that the Master God can restore a person from memories. I've survived 4 films and didn't know about this. It seems there are still many secrets. We've only just scratched the surface." Trin Shaw nodded and said, "Exactly. This place is unheard of. Being part of a movie, interacting with characters, even changing the plot, and possibly dying in the movie, the purchasable items are unbelievable, not to mention guns and ammunition. The new enhancements are astonishing. Do you think this could happen in reality?" Everyone fell silent, and Trin Shaw took a deep breath before speaking. "I don't care what this place is, whether created by demons or gods. I just want to survive, earn enough points to bring her back to reality. I think none of us want to die in a movie, right? So we should unite. No one knows what the next movie will be. Individual strength is very limited. We need to work as a team, help each other overcome difficulties. Am I right?" After listening, the 3 were silent in thought. Cham Lamb said with a laugh of amazement, "Just one night and you've changed a lot. Even Nangi, who just ended his bachelorhood, can't compare. Is that girl that important to you?" Nangi immediately blushed, squirming uncomfortably, and Truong Kiet laughed loudly. "What's there to be embarrassed about becoming a real man? My nephew is also impressive, created a blonde Persian cat. Careful not to get drained dry, eh?" Nangi's face turned so red it looked like it was about to bleed, and Truong Kiet then turned to Trin Shaw. "I think you're right. Individual strength is only limited. Before we enhance ourselves into superhumans, we don't have the strength to overcome most horror films. I've been through 3 films and understand very well how important the strength of a team is. Aside from the monsters in the movies, teammates next to you can also pose a threat. Therefore, I think we should collaborate, share intelligence, help each other correspondingly in the movies, and if any newcomers cause division within our ranks, I suggest we kill them." Cham Lamb asked in surprise. "Didn't you say that killing newcomers would deduct points?" Truong Kiet replied with a sinister smile. "True. You lose 1,000 points, but I haven't killed anyone, just broken all their limbs or thrown them to the monsters. As long as it's not by my own hand, it doesn't deduct points." Cham Lamb and Lee shivered, and Trin Shaw nodded. "Correct. I won't intentionally harm newcomers, but if anyone endangers the team, I will not hesitate to eliminate harmful pests. We must survive to return to reality. Now I have some information I want to share with everyone. I think I roughly know how to get drama details. Trin Shaw seriously said. It might involve changing certain plot details, saving a character who would definitely die, for example, or killing all the monsters in a movie or completely reversing the storyline. I suspect doing so will complete the drama details. Then Trin Shaw shared his own experience when everyone learned that saving the black team leader earned a grade B detail and 5,000 points. They all were stunned, mouths agape. Cham Lamb cautiously asked, "So how many points do you have?" 6,502 points and 1 grade B detail. Everyone looked at him enviously, and Truong Kiet frowned and smiled. You risk your life in all sorts of ways, nearly die several times, and only earn just over 4,000 points. And here you are in the first movie earning 6,502 points and a grade B detail. Truly an irritating fellow. Looks like I'll have to stick with you to earn my keep. Trin Shaw laughed. Who's sticking with whom? If last time you hadn't stayed with us in the server room, even if I had earned bonus points, it would have been useless. I might have been dead under a zombie's teeth or liquor claws long ago. We should be thanking you. Cham Lamb laughed and said, Anyway, it's good. At least now we know how to earn details. It's not without difficulties, but it's better than not knowing anything. It seems every drama detail also has bonus points. Before I thought earning one in each movie was impossible, but now at least we have a target. Truong Kiet also put away his envy, knowing Trin Shaw had the decency to share, and said, All right, I'll explain about the enhancement attributes and purchasable items. We have 9 days and nights to prepare for the next movie. Everyone take your time to choose enhancements and items to buy, all for the next movie. No, for survival, Trin Shaw thought to himself, looking toward the bedroom door with a very gentle gaze. Self-enhancement qualities, as defined by the Master God, fall into 6 major categories: intellectual power, mental power, neural reflexes, muscle strength, cellular activity, and immunity. From my experiments and estimates, intellectual power is related to memory and reasoning abilities. Mental power's effects are unclear since they cannot be tested. Cellular activity represents cell regeneration capabilities. The higher it is, the quicker wounds heal. Neural reflexes and muscle strength are the most tangible and useful for us. High neural reflexes can help us react faster, perceive fast-moving objects more clearly, and even potentially see bullet trajectories to some extent. However, reflexes alone aren't enough. Thus, muscle strength is also extremely important. Higher muscle strength means greater force and speed, plus muscle integrity because excessive force can tear muscles. This is the primary role of muscle strength. Lastly, immunity is crucial because if it's high enough, you won't contract viruses in movies like Resident Evil. Truong Kiet shared his experience with everyone, continuing, Basic enhancement is just that. Next up are items. I advise Cham Lamb and Lee not to buy anything at all. Use your points to enhance cellular activity, neural reflexes, muscle strength, and immunity, with a focus on neural reflexes and muscle strength. Otherwise, just running long distances would be enough to exhaust you. Truong Kiet then turned to Trin Shaw and said, You have a grade B detail and 6,500 points. I recommend you enhance some type of mutant bloodline, whichever you prefer. If you have leftover points, enhance your qualities further and buy weapons. In my opinion, the best would be for you to purchase a magical or legendary weapon. After all, you will be the strongest among us in the next movie. Trin Shaw nodded and said, I think so too. From what I've observed, the most dangerous types of films are those involving demons, like Curse, for example. Last time Truong Kiet went through Nightmare on Elm Street, which also falls into that category, it cannot be explained by science. Therefore, I plan to switch to a weapon that can kill demons, though I'm not sure how expensive it will be. Truong Kiet laughed and said, Then what are we waiting for? Let's go have a look. I'll ask my wife to cook a delicious meal for you guys. Haha, let's go. All 4 were excited as they went out to the square, especially Trin Shaw and the other 2 who were enhancing for the first time. From this point, they had officially become superhuman. Particularly for Trin Shaw. Compared to others, his level of enhancement was significantly higher. Anyone in that situation would definitely express their excitement. Trin Shaw stood under the beam of light, closed his eyes, and immediately 4 enhancement categories appeared in his mind. First, let's check out the enhancement categories. As soon as he thought it, Trin Shaw opened the auxiliary menu. He only chose grade B and C enhancements, yet there were dozens of choices enough to make him dizzy. Spider-Man Mutant DNA, rated 83 points, suitable for films requiring high flexibility, web-slinging skills suitable for any situation, requires a grade B detail and 2,000 points. Advanced Qigong Enhancement, rated 87 points, suitable for close combat films, enhances advanced Qigong pathways, increases a large amount of internal energy, significantly enhances body qualities temporarily, requires 1 grade B detail and 2,500 points, and Intermediate Qigong Enhancement. Advanced Werewolf, Lycanthrope. Bloodline, rated 88 points, suitable for most horror films, capable of mutating into a werewolf, temporarily greatly enhances body qualities, increases body hardness and recovery ability. As it is a mutant form, the recipient of the bloodline is not controlled by wolf instincts, requires 1 grade B detail, 2,700 points, and basic lycanthrope bloodline enhancement. Advanced Vampire Bloodline, rated 90 points, suitable for most horror films, skills of the bloodline can use most skills. Reaching the rank of Count greatly enhances vitality, continuous recovery as long as the brain and heart are not destroyed. As it is a mutant bloodline, it is not afraid of light, silver, crosses, etc. Requires 1 grade B detail, 3,000 points. Vampire Count Bloodline. High Radiation Mutant DNA. Finally, Trin Shaw understood Truong Kiet's earlier statement about why he laughed while looking. These enhancements were indeed quite bizarre. Werewolves, vampires, Qigong all included, making one wonder what other strange things there were. He pondered for a moment, then immediately checked for grade A enhancements. Indeed, there were Advanced Qigong, Vampire Duke, Advanced Werewolf, and these enhancements all required previously having grade B enhancements. Trin Shaw thought for a moment, then asked, "Master God, can I choose 2 different mutant bloodlines?" "You can, but the consequences are unpredictable. The 2 bloodlines might synergize or conflict. You have a 10% chance of becoming non-human. That means turning into a monster." Trin Shaw nodded, having already decided his enhancement path. He split 1 grade B detail into 3 grade Cs, kept 2 grade Cs, and then split 1 grade C into 3 grade Ds, thus allowing 4 times enhancement. He planned to enhance to grade D Qigong and grade D Vampire Baron, then upgrade to grade C Qigong and grade C Vampire Count. This way, he would still have 1 grade D unspent. Basic Qigong costs 500 points. Vampire Baron costs 800 points. Intermediate Qigong costs 1,200 points. Vampire Count costs 1,500 points. Darn. That's expensive. Trin Shaw calculated that enhancing like this would cost 4,000 points, and he only had 6,502 points after desperately completing a detail to earn them. He gritted his teeth and discussed his plan with the Master God, and immediately he felt himself sinking into a warm stream, a very comfortable feeling. 2 streams of energy appeared, one flowing down to his dantian and one up to his brain, warming his entire body so much he almost dozed off. Around him, the 3 onlookers' eyes bulged, their mouths agape. Before their eyes, Trin Shaw was enveloped by a column of light rising several meters high, with thousands of light particles continuously entering his body, persisting for several minutes. Truong Kiet's jaw dropped as he yelled, "Hey, wife, come see God!" Li Tuangi murmured, "He's ascending again weird. Why did I say again?" Compared to the astonishment of the 2 men, Cham Lamb appeared much calmer, asking, "Our enhancements weren't that spectacular, were they?" Truong Kiet calmed down and replied, "No. When we enhanced, only light particles entered our bodies, then we immediately felt the power boost. Trin Shaw's spectacular show probably means he's getting some powerful enhancements." After a few minutes, Trin Shaw gradually came back down to earth. Everyone looking at him sensed something odd. He had been handsome before, but just ordinarily so. Now he had an uncannily beautiful appearance, not entirely obvious, but perceptible to all. Trin Shaw, feeling the warm, tingling sensation had subsided, hurriedly checked his attributes. Intellectual power, 187. Mental power, 232. Cellular activity, 321. Neural reflexes, 287. Muscle strength, 302. Immunity, 331. The array of figures startled him. Just a few low-level enhancements had made him so powerful, his strength now tripled compared to an average human. He quickly rechecked the two skill types he had enhanced. Qi Gong was noted as life energy, flowing increasingly strong through his meridians, gradually enhancing human qualities, while the vampire energy was a distinctive life force of vampires, centered around the brain and blood vessels, usable for unleashing bloodline skills. Trin Shaw finally opened his eyes. Seeing the three still staring at him oddly, he quickly asked, "So, have I transformed?" He was terrified, touching his limbs all over, afraid that the enhancements had turned him into a monster. Only finding no changes reassured him. "What are you looking at so oddly? Don't you know that can scare someone to death?" The three of them laughed sheepishly, and Truong Kiet spoke up. "So, what enhancements have you made? Tell us about it." Trin Shaw smiled and said, "I exchanged a grade B detail for grades C and D, and then enhanced basic and intermediate Qigong. Additionally, I have the mutant vampire bloodline, currently at the rank of Count." He then shared his own statistics, making the three both envious and impressed. Cham Lamb, rubbing his forehead, said, "I've been thinking. Could it be that immortals, demons, vampires, and werewolves from legends are real? Perhaps they are survivors from this place. Maybe this space has existed since ancient times. Back then there were no horror movies but legends and stories. Perhaps ancient people completed their missions and returned." Seeing the men listening intently, Cham Lamb continued, "Because whether they are immortals or monsters, only the first generation is strong, as those who returned from here passed on their strength, but the subsequent generations gradually weakened. What do you guys think? Is that possible?" Li Tio and Gi suddenly asked. "Then who built this place? Even godly bloodlines are available, so who could have built it? It could be true gods, or maybe demons. Who knows? Oh, Trin Shaw, did you gain any skills with your enhancement?" I have internal energy and vampire energy. I'm not quite sure about them yet. The internal energy feels like a warm ball in my stomach, and I only notice the vampire energy in my brain when I focus on it. It feels like it's about to jump out. Translator's note. It's rare for someone to foolishly combine two completely opposite types of energy. Qigong is of life, vampire energy of death. Not exploding is a stroke of great luck. What about you guys? Have you finished your enhancements? Cham Lamb and Li Tio Ngi looked at each other and smiled. Especially Li Tio Ngi, who jumped about 2 meters high, landed excitedly, and said, "I feel full of power. Everything looks so clear. How about you, big brother Trin?" Hearing this, Trin Shaw felt as if everything around him had been cleansed. Everything was clearer. He could even see a scratch on a door lock far away. Thinking about this, he jumped 3 meters high, landed, and then dashed back and forth among the three. Only Truong Kiet could clearly see him. "Good! Very impressive!" Cham Lamb and Li Tio Ngi shouted in admiration, and Truong Kiet laughed heartily. "Excellent! Now why don't you try out some of the skills? After all, you've enhanced using a detail. Surely you must have acquired some great skills. Or let's check out the weapons. With a grade D, you can exchange for a superb weapon. You use 2 grade Cs and 2 grade Ds for the enhancements. Your skills must be very strong." Trin Shaw took the advice, again entered consultation with the Master God. This time he opened up the selection of magical and legendary products. Indeed, there was a jumble of everything from bows, shields, broadswords, to machine guns, grenades, and anti-tank guns. Higher-end options included Jedi lightsabers, photon cannons, and more impressively, Trin Shaw even saw arm units like in Gundam, costing 20,000 points and a grade A detail. "It's best to look at something practical," he began. "With guns. Indeed, the guns with limited ammo were very cheap, a shoulder-launched anti-aircraft rocket costing only 50 points. But when switching to unlimited ammo, it cost 2,000 points, the advantage being able to use continuously without running out of ammo. Next, he looked at magical weapons. Quite familiar because he had played fantasy games like this before, all the weapons from the games were there. The magic scroll type was generally cheap, only twice as expensive as grenades. A thunder spell scroll costing 30 points, a frost chain scroll just 50 points. The rest were mainly melee weapons, like a light sword called the Purifying Blade, costing 1,000 points, a magical wood sword called Demon Exorcising, costing 1,200 points. Actually, Trin Shaw had been thinking about what kind of weapon to use. The stronger he became, the less he relied on guns and ammunition. When strong enough, his speed was even faster than bullets, his body so tough that bullets could not penetrate, a finger poke could pierce through stone. Then a dagger would be more lethal than guns. Moreover, Trin Shaw always feared ghostly horror films. Thus he chose a melee magical weapon, especially one that could kill spirits and demons. While carefully selecting, a ring caught his attention, named Storage, marked only with the word storage, hence it caught his eye. According to the description, this ring was made using cultivation techniques, able to store 1.5 cubic meters of items, activated by internal energy, fairy energy, true essence, or divine grace energy. Once activated, it would project a few millimeters thick layer on the palm, causing significant damage to spirits and demons. Trin Shaw's heart skipped a beat. This was indeed a weapon for him, a melee weapon that could be activated by internal energy, damaging to spirits. Plus, it could store 1.5 cubic meters of items. He could store food, medicines, and water in preparation for situations in the films. All right, I'll choose this one, though it's a bit expensive. 1,500 points plus a grade D, the remaining single grade D couldn't be kept, naturally making Trin Shaw feel somewhat empty. When he opened his eyes, on his hand was a very ancient-looking bronze ring, its dragon carvings faded with no other decorations, utterly unattractive to others. The three gathered around, and Truong Kiet said, "Did you exchange it in the entertainment category to give it to that girl? Such a thing could also be made in the room. Why exchange it for nothing?" Trin Shaw laughed off the comment and slipped the ring on his middle finger, suddenly feeling the internal energy flowing through his meridians from the dantian to his finger. The ring, becoming a part of his flesh and blood, merely focusing slightly revealed 1.5 cubic meters of space. Moreover, it was the first time he used internal energy, not feeling any difficulty at all, as if it were a part of his body. "Touch it and see." Trin Shaw extended his hand in front of the three, who looked at each other in surprise, then reached out to touch it, suddenly feeling as if electrocuted. They grimaced and looked at Trin Shaw. "Is the ring electrified?" Cham Lamb curiously asked. Trin Shaw laughed heartily, stroking the ring, saying, "This is spiritual energy crafted using cultivation techniques. That is, our ancestral cultivators made it. This ring is called Storage. It can store 1.5 cubic meters of items, and it can also cause damage to spirits. From now on, we won't be helpless in horror films." The three looked at him with both envy and admiration. Trin Shaw understood that it was purely luck. Anyone would feel envious and admiring, so he declared that the remaining 1,000 points would be used to buy antidotes, food, medicines, and other supports, so that anyone among the four who got injured could be treated, making everyone feel better. Truong Kiet said, smiling, "Whatever you want to exchange later is fine. Come on, let's go back to my place to enjoy the cooking skills of my sister-in-law. She's a professional chef, you know. As for food, the Master God is not stingy at all. Whatever you want to eat, they have it. This afternoon, everyone must train with me." "Train?" The three were surprised. "Yes, train. Actually, everyone's attributes depend on training and keep changing. As far as I know, the Special Forces soldiers achieve levels just below Trin Shaw through special training. They don't have internal energy and vampire energy or whatever, but they have combat techniques and endurance. If it really comes to fighting, it's not certain who would die, maybe Trin Shaw. Between films, I keep training to improve my neural reflexes and muscle strength. You guys also need to learn how to shoot. Don't worry. My place has a large training area and shooting range. To survive the next film, everyone must keep striving. Not for the next film, but for survival, I must live. To bring the woman I love back to reality, Trin Shaw silently vowed. When Trin Shaw returned to the room to call Laay for dinner, he was surprised to see her wearing a short maid's dress, white thigh-high stockings, a white apron dress, and even a maid's hat on her head, looking incredibly beautiful, utterly captivating him. Laay was softly singing and tidying up. The room created from Trin Shaw's memory of 10 years ago was quite messy. The girl in the white dress moving around leisurely cleaning, stirring a love in him he had always buried deep. Trin Shaw couldn't hold back and hugged her tightly. Ah! Laay was startled, but she quickly calmed down upon sensing a familiar presence, turning back defiantly to say in a sharp tone, Big Lecher, what are you up to? Sneaking around silently, trying to scare someone? Trin Shaw could not contain the fire within him. He passionately kissed her, silencing her protests. Initially, Laay struggled but gradually softened, and only panting could be heard after a moment. When Trin Shaw let her go, her eyes were dreamy, her lips swollen from the kisses, looking so adorable that he nearly wanted to devour her. Being held by Trin Shaw, she obviously felt the changes in him. Although she was turned into a mush by his kisses, her feisty nature kicked in, and she quickly grabbed him, saying, Big Lecher, mind the limits. Do you even know what time it is? I mean, even at night, this isn't allowed. Oh well, that's the point. Don't laugh. Also, you can't kiss without someone's consent. No caressing, no doing such lowly acts. Got it? Big Lecher. Trin Shaw, trying to hold back, stuttered. So, the thing that you are doing, what about it? Laay, looking puzzled, glanced down at her hand, and upon realizing what she was grabbing, she suddenly jumped to one side like a scared little rabbit, so endearing that Trin Shaw almost lunged again. He quickly changed the subject. Laay, where did these clothes come from? They look very nice. He meant to say very sexy, but remembering his intent to divert the conversation, he changed it to very nice. Laay immediately smiled happily, seemingly forgetting what she had just said, twirling in her dress and remarking, How? Very pretty, right? I told you only a young lady like me could design such beautiful clothes. Trin Shaw, burning with desire, hastily said, Beautiful, very beautiful. But isn't it also depicted in Japanese manga? Laay blushed and responded, Not at all. I clearly changed the patterns and more. And more. She continued talking endlessly about the designs and choices of clothes, then about the home decor items. Trin Shaw was not annoyed in the least, but felt the warmth of family, a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. As Laay was talking, she suddenly became serious and defiantly said, Right. You need to be honest with me later about what has been going on these past years, pretending like I don't know. Last night's actions were very, well, you know. Later you better confess honestly. No lying, no hiding. Trin Shaw immediately grinned sheepishly, knowing Laay was indeed the type to get extremely jealous and was very serious about relationships. If she knew how hedonistic he had been in the past years, only heaven knows what would happen. Thus, he quickly steered the conversation elsewhere. Ha, we'll tell, definitely will tell. Right, later I'll take you to meet my friends. In future films, we will fight side by side. Today, someone invited us for dinner. Should you change your clothes, maybe? Laay snorted and said, Of course, this outfit is not suitable for going out. Later, you must be honest about what you've done over the years, understand? Trin Shaw laughed blankly several times, watching as Laay walked into his bedroom. At least she considered it her own, which greatly lifted his spirits. Later, Laay came out dressed simply, glaring at him and straightening a few wrinkles on his shirt, urging, Come on, I haven't been out to see yet. As they left the house, she was amazed and annoyed, first questioning the master god about random things, and then being scared by the dark space until they entered Truong Kiet's room, where she continued to hold Trin Shaw's hand, incessantly asking questions. Trin Shaw noticed everyone was already gathered in the room. Lee Teung-gi sat next to a blonde, white girl with an extremely beautiful face and voluptuous body, definitely a special treasure for men. Beside Truong Kiet was a classic beauty with long black hair, small eyebrows, big eyes, dressed in an elegant long dress that highlighted all her attractive features. At that moment, she was adjusting the wrinkles on Truong Kiet's shirt, her graceful movements making men drool. Also, there was Cham Lamb, sitting annoyed, constantly grunting and glaring dismissively at the two men. Seeing Trin Shaw, Cham Lamb couldn't help but grunt once more. Truong Kiet then said, "Why not create the perfect man with life creation? Why doesn't Cham Lamb create the man of her dreams?" Cham Lamb huffed and said, "People aren't that tasteless. In reality, if one can't achieve something, they rely on imagination, which is so dull. I would never write such lascivious stuff in my books. Rather than creating a man, it would be better to change to a vibrator." Li Tiuenghi's face turned beet red, while Zhang Jie burst out laughing. "No need to be so stiff, sis. It's clear you're a virgin pretending what? Even I, as bad as I am, know hundreds of girls just by looking at their outward appearance." Cham Lamb blushed, trying to stay calm. "That's the difference between men and women. Men want to possess the woman they desire before any feelings arise, while women seek genuine feelings first, then deeply love the man. People aren't as tasteless as you guys, getting involved with the opposite sex without any reason." As soon as he finished speaking, a playful voice from behind Trin Shaw said, "She's absolutely right. Men are truly detestable, both lecherous and despicable, not understanding true love at all." Laay happily joined Cham Lamb to chat, and the two were like they regretted not meeting sooner, quickly warming up to each other as if they were sisters. Zhang Jie looked at Trin Shaw's grimacing face and laughed heartily. "You're late. The food's all gone cold, haha. Come on. The more the merrier." Trin Shaw wasn't stingy. He used a reward point to get 1,000 activity points, choosing from the entertainment section, only selecting premium wines and drinks, various kinds of wine, century-old spirits, buying them like water. Zhang Ji wasn't wrong. The entertainment items here were so cheap it was beyond words. A 200-year-old wine bottle for only 10 activity points, even though Trin Shaw wasn't a wine expert. He could taste its quality. When he turned around, his ring was filled with fine wine. Everyone was unreserved. The classical beauty really had professional skills. The delicious dishes made everyone want to bite their tongues, including monkey brains, bear paws, forest, and seafoods, making more than 10 dishes, but each one rare and hard to find. Everyone ate their fill, practically licking their plates clean. Laay was intimate, calling the classical beauty sister, and hoped to learn how to cook some dishes. Zhang Jie lit a cigarette and said, "The god of this domain is truly remarkable, especially when it comes to eating and enjoying. Even billionaires outside might not have it as good as us. Look, we drink century-old wine like it's water, and the tobacco I smoke is also top grade. If it weren't for reincarnation in horror movies, honestly, this place would be a great retirement spot. We could take our sister-in-law out for fun and then return here. Ha ha, living like this, even gods would not trade places." Trin Shaw and the others nodded in agreement, Trin Shaw smiling. "That's why we must survive through those horror movies. Whether we return to reality or stay here, we control our own fate, right?" Everyone sighed in their hearts. Zhang Jie laughed loudly. "All right then, I'll take everyone to the training field. We have 9 days to prepare, ready to face the next movie."